Olympics to be hosted by PyeongChang and Seoul, proposing resumption of reunions for war-torn families. After thorough review and discussions with Japan, South Korea announces it will not seek a renegotiation of the 2015 deal on Japan's wartime sex slavery issue. Moreover, Seoul calls on Tokyo to make its own efforts to ease the pain of the surviving victims. 2017 was a great year for Samsung. The tech titan estimates fourth quarter operating profit recorded a 64% on-year hike, with total operating profit hitting the highest mark ever. NEWSCENTER begins now. It's 8 p.m. here in Korea, live from our studio in Seoul. This is Arirang News Center. Welcome to our program. I'm Daniel Choi. The first inter-Korean meeting in 2 years. Though it was primarily to discuss Pyongyang's participation in next month's Winter Olympics held in the South, hopes are high discussions will branch out to other urgent matters and set a firm foundation for building trust and working towards peace. We connect to our Ji Myung-gil at the Office for South-North Dialogue in Seoul right now. Myung-gil, what do you have for us at this hour?
Hello, Daniel. I'm currently at the Unification Ministry's Special Office for Inter-Korean Dialogue, where all the important information relating to the meeting are convened here. As for now, the talks have finished and the two sides are working on a joint statement that will be announced anytime soon. During the talks, the North notified the South that they had reopened a hot military hotline that had been disconnected as of today. North Korea is willing to send a delegation of athletes, cheerleaders, reporters, and taekwondo demonstrators for the PyeongChang Games. Seoul was hoping to address some other non-Olympic issues as well. Let's hear what the South Korean delegation proposed.
We propose holding a Red Cross meeting to discuss the reunions of families during the Lunar New Year holiday. We also requested military talks to ease cross-border tensions.
The South Korean delegation also suggested entering the Olympic ceremony together as one team. When asked whether the South Korean delegation had brought up the North denuclearization, the South Vice Minister of Unification said the North listened but showed no reaction. He said both sides would have to continue on the working level to settle details about the schedule, the number of athletes that will participate, transport and accommodation.
Now, it's an all-day affair that's proving to be quite productive. Myung-gil, what were the reactions of other countries towards today's inter-Korean talks?
Yes, Daniel, the United States says it supports the high-level talks 100%, while Japan says although it does support the talks, they highlighted the need to put further sanctions on North Korea. Meanwhile, China has greatly welcomed the talks and conveyed their high hopes for good results. South Korea's presidential office says it is closely monitoring the situation. And early on, President Moon Jae-in had called for the international community's support for the talks. The breakthrough call between Seoul and Pyongyang came last week after North Korean leader Kim Jong-un's New Year's address and the reopening of the communication hotline at Panmunjom. The government hopes improved inter-Korean relations will pave the way toward resolving the North nuclear issue and for broader talks between Pyongyang and Washington. Back to you, Daniel.
Myung-gil, I know it was really cold out there and you've been with us throughout the day, keeping us updated. We sincerely appreciate it. Thank you. Moving on, as expected, discussions on Pyongyang's participation in the global games went smooth. Aside from that agenda, Seoul also brought up other inter-Korean issues, suggesting meeting of separated families and, of course, military talks. Here's our Oh Jung-hee with a deeper analysis of the historic meeting and the road ahead.
North Korea's participation in the 2018 PyeongChang Winter Olympics was much wanted by the South Korean government, as it could help de-escalate tensions on the Korean peninsula at least for the Olympics period, and could possibly lead the two Koreas to sort out and talk about other shared issues. And at the talks on Tuesday, Pyongyang announced its athletes will compete in the games, and the regime will send along a cheering squad, art troops, a taekwondo demonstration team, and a press corps. This after the regime's leader, Kim Jong-un, said in his New Year's speech that it's natural for the North to share the joy and provide support as, quote, compatriots.
North Korea said it will send art troops or observers, which weren't really sent before, so I expect the delegation won't be small. But there aren't many sports the North Korean athletes can compete in, so the number of athletes and the cheerleaders will be smaller than that the Asian Games or Universiade. I expect roughly 350 to 400 people to come.
Experts say there's also a high possibility that the two Koreas could coordinate on the two other issues Seoul raised on Tuesday. One is the meeting of separated families, which South Korea's unification ministry puts as its top priority. The reunions have been on hold since October 2015, and the families, now getting old, don't have much time left. The other is the military talks, which experts say is more plausible. As South Korea and the U.S. decided to delay their annual key resolve and full legal exercises until after the Olympics, Seoul expects Pyongyang to do the same.
North Korea has a large-scale joint military drill in March involving the Army, Navy, and Air Force, so Seoul might want to discuss postponing that drill as well with the North. And the North is likely to accept holding military talks with the South because it will want to show its contribution to lowering regional tensions.
Tuesday's meeting was the first ministerial-level talks between the two Koreas in 2 years, and the North showed a pretty drastic change of course compared to last year, keeping a conciliatory and proactive stance throughout the meeting.
North Korea aims to dissipate its negative image in the international community by using the Olympic Games, and it aims to improve its relations with South Korea and even with the United States.
Pundits say the North is feeling tired of the international community's military pressure and economic sanctions that have continued for years, and so hopes to change the atmosphere. 오정희, Arirang News.
Going back to the response from the rest of the world to the sudden change of mood in inter-Korean relations, the major players, the United States and China and Japan, are all for it, showing strong support. But according to our Kim Mo-kyun, at the same time, Washington and Tokyo stressed the importance of maintaining pressure on the regime.
The U.S. welcomed and supported the inter-Korean talks, saying the first high-level talks in more than 2 years are the result of the Trump administration's North Korea policy of strongly pressuring the regime. U.S. Vice President Mike Pence said during a radio interview on Monday that the progress is a direct result of the clear and unambiguous leadership of President Trump and that the administration aims to continue the policy until the North abandons its nuclear program. U.S. President Trump also expressed support for the talks, saying that the two Koreas discussing the topic of the upcoming Winter Olympics is a big start. He also expressed a willingness to talk with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un over the phone, but not without preconditions. The Washington Post reported on the issue, stating that the talks could be the door to easing tensions and bringing about peaceful negotiations between the two countries. Japan's Prime Minister Shinzo Abe expressed support for the talks and the North's cooperative stance on the PyeongChang 2018 Winter Olympics. But he added that the international community, particularly China and Russia, needs to follow UN resolutions and continue with UN sanctions to pressure the North. During a press conference on Monday, Japanese Foreign Minister Taro Kono also said that although it's a good thing that North Korea has expressed its intention to participate in the Olympics, the regime should know that its current nuclear policies would bring no bright future to the international community. China, which has so far emphasized dialogue and more engagement with the North, also welcomed the talks. China's foreign ministry spokesperson said on Monday during a regular press conference that China expects the two Koreas could ease tensions and strengthen mutual trust through joint efforts. China's state media CCTV reported on the talks live from Korea, highlighting the importance of the discussions in improving inter-Korean relations. China's state-run daily tabloid Hwanqiu Sibao also covered the talks, speculating that Washington will likely continue to pressure Pyongyang to stop its nuclear development and that Washington and Seoul could continue with their joint military drills after the Olympics. Kim Mo-kyun, Arirang News.
Staying with the topic, the International Olympic Committee is keeping the door open for North Korea to take part at the PyeongChang Winter Games. The global body is extending the deadline for registration while respecting UN sanctions on the reclusive regime. Talks with all related parties are underway, and the IOC wants all athletes to compete at the global games beyond political tensions and divisions. North Korea's representative to the IOC, Chang is in Switzerland ahead of a meeting with IOC President Thomas Bach. On how many athletes the regime might send to PyeongChang, Chang said details will be announced very soon. So how do South Korean citizens feel about Pyongyang's participation in the upcoming games? A recent survey shows the majority welcome the move. Our Lee Jung-yeon took to the streets to hear directly from the people for their views on the matter.
North Korea officially confirmed in Tuesday's first talks that it will attend the upcoming 2018 PyeongChang Winter Olympics. And to this, most South Koreans have responded favorably.
I very much agree. We need to stop thinking of them as enemies, but as allies. Divided families should also be reunited, so I hope this can be a stepping stone to unification.
I'm very much in favor. We will have a stronger international presence if South-North relations improve, so we need to continue these conversations.
I think it's a very good thing. It's the way it should be. Pressure can't solve the problems at hand. We need to take it step by step, starting with the Olympics.
It's good that we can take this opportunity to talk to North Korea. I hope we can get along better in the future and solve other problems like the nuclear issue.
According to a survey conducted this year on around 500 South Korean citizens, almost 8 in 10 were in favor of the regime taking part in the games to improve inter-Korean relations. One thing worth noting is that those in favor outnumbered those against, across all age groups, genders, political orientations, and geographical regions, with the exception of those who support the Liberty Korea Party. The overall favorable sentiment of South Korean citizens toward North Korea's participation at PyeongChang 2018 seems to be based on a common wish for improved inter-Korean relations that could one day bring lasting peace to this divided country. Lee Jung-yeon, Arirang News.
In the eyes of the victims and many Koreans, the 2015 so-called Seoul-Tokyo Agreement on Japan's wartime sex slavery issue was deeply flawed, which is why the government announced it will not seek renegotiation of the controversial deal, highlighting it does not resolve the long-standing issue. Kwon Jang-ho has the details.
Less than 2 weeks after a government task force review strongly criticized the 2015 Seoul-Tokyo Agreement on the issue of Japanese wartime sex slavery, the Moon administration has issued its initial response and follow-up measures. Foreign Minister Kang Kyung-hwa declared on Tuesday that the deal did not resolve the issue as it had stated.
The 2015 agreement, which did not adequately take into consideration the victims, cannot be considered a genuine resolution of the Japanese wartime sex slavery issue.
However, Seoul has decided not to renegotiate nor scrap the agreement as some had called for.
It cannot be denied that the 2015 deal was an official agreement between two countries. With this in mind, our government will not ask to renegotiate the agreement with Japan.
Kang also revealed that Seoul will put aside $8.9 million to help the victims, rather than use the equivalent amount offered by Tokyo in the 2015 deal as a compensation fund. As for the money from Tokyo, they plan to have further discussions on what to do with it. Seoul also called on Tokyo to make efforts of their own accord to help ease the victims' suffering and give them a sincere, voluntary apology. Tokyo issued an initial response saying that it will not accept Seoul not honouring the agreement. Japan's Foreign Minister Taro Kono said that the deal was a promise between two nations, irrespective of changes in government, and that it will issue a strong complaint to Seoul. However, observers say the real litmus test of Tokyo's stance will be seen next month in whether Prime Minister Shinzo Abe attends the PyeongChang 2018 Winter Olympics. Meanwhile, several victims themselves at a special care home for survivors of the atrocity were reported to have criticised the announcement, saying the deal needs to be scrapped altogether. The chairman of the care home said that if Seoul does not agree with the deal but does not scrap it, then that is a betrayal of the victims. However, a foreign ministry official said on Tuesday that they have taken the time in recent weeks to communicate with most of the surviving victims and that opinions on how to tackle the deal had varied greatly. They say a compromise leaves nobody satisfied. Seoul has not asked for a renegotiation of the 2015 agreement, but at the same time has also chosen not to honour it. The question now is whether the Moon administration will be able to appease either the victims or Tokyo from this position. 권장호, Arirang News.
Turning our attention to the nation's top office now, President Moon Jae-in met with a special envoy of the Crown Prince of Abu Dhabi to exchange views on ways to continue strengthening relations between South Korea and the United Arab Emirates.
우리 임종석 특사가 UAE를 방문한 데 이어서 또 우리 총장님께서 UAE의 특사로 2018년도에 첫 손님으로 한국을 방문했기 때문에 이 양국 관계가 한층 더 발전할 수 있는 그런 좋은 기회가 되지 않을까 생각합니다.
Khaldoon Al Mubarak is the chairman of Abu Dhabi's Executive Affairs Authority and one of the most trusted advisors of the royal family. According to a spokesperson, the Liberal leader said he looks forward to the completion of the Barakah nuclear power plant, calling it the symbol of the two nations' partnership. Earlier in the day, the envoy also had lunch with Presidential Chief of Staff Im Jong-seok. South Korea's main opposition party claimed that Im's trip was meant to salvage bilateral relations, which it says are turning sour. However, the presidential office dismissed that speculation. Samsung Electronics released its estimated fourth quarter earnings. The figures fell slightly short of expectations. Nonetheless, the firm posted the highest operating profit and sales to date, mainly fueled by semiconductor sales. Our Park Hee-jun helps us look beyond the uplifting numbers.
The world's largest chip maker, Samsung Electronics, has recorded its highest ever earnings in the fourth quarter of last year. According to the firm's report on Tuesday, its estimated operating profit for the October-December period jumped 64% on year to a record high of $14.1 billion. Sales went up 24% to an estimated $61.7 billion. In terms of yearly profit, Samsung's total operating profit hit $50 billion, the highest in its history. The figures were slightly below what had been forecast. According to Yonhap Infomax, the South Korean tech giant was anticipated to post a quarterly profit of around $14.8 billion. Samsung did not reveal the performance details of its business divisions, but industry watchers say that although the company enjoyed the recovery of its mobile sector, the main driver of these record-high figures is the booming semiconductor division, which accounts for 65% of the profits.
And there has been serious expansion of industries in big data, artificial intelligence, and IoTs. So thanks to a skyrocketing increase of demands for chips from these industries, Samsung had a great years for the last 2 to 3 years.
Prospects for Samsung mainly depend on the memory chip market situation for this year and next year. With Chinese manufacturers actively jumping into the market, there may be more competition for the South Korean firm. But experts say that Samsung Electronics' profits are still likely to continue to rise throughout the year, as the semiconductor supercycle is expected to reach its peak in 2018. Park Hee-jun, Arirang News.
Tech enthusiasts the world over will be in Las Vegas for the annual Consumer Electronics Show to check out cutting-edge products that's big on artificial intelligence or AI. Korean firms will also be taking center stage with their latest items. Won Jong-han outlines what to watch out for at the event.
The 2018 Consumer Electronics Show is being held in Las Vegas starting Tuesday under the slogan, "The Future of Smart Cities." As the slogan suggests, this year's show was all about AI-loaded high-tech products, devices, and services. Amazon's Alexa and Google's Assistant took the spotlight. Amazon's Alexa has started its march into kitchens and living rooms around the world. And Google Assistant, which was released in 2016, is now used in many household appliances, as well as Android smartphones. Hundreds of other companies are following the trend, including Korea's two tech giants who showcased their unique assistant services at the event. LG has been keen to show off its latest home robot at the Las Vegas event. The robot named Chloe made it up on stage and interacted with smart home gadgets while helping out with household tasks. LG also showed off its latest TV models, which are equipped with AI technology. The firm said the 2018 OLED TV will use Google Assistant alongside the native system to perform AI capabilities, such as allowing viewers to interact with their TV using their voice. South Korean tech giant Samsung also showcased its own assistant, Bixby, which is integrated into its 2018 smart TV. Samsung also presented a QLED TV that uses artificial intelligence to turn standard definition content into high-definition video. This includes detail enhancement and noise reduction of any type of content regardless of their source. The Consumer Electronics Show runs until Friday and is expected to draw more than 170,000 people. 원정환, Arirang News.
The world's shipbuilding industry was dogged by overcapacity as of late. Finally, we are seeing signs of a rebound. According to a report by Clarkson Research Services, global ship orders for 2017 recorded 23.2 million compensated gross tons, or CGT, up nearly 80% from the year prior. Korean shipbuilders saw the biggest jump in orders, a near 200% on-year spike. China led the way in terms of order volume, with Korea and Japan trailing behind. The report forecasts the upward trend to continue, driven mainly by economic recovery in the United States and Europe, with 2018 likely to see around 27.8 million CGT of orders. The main press center for the upcoming Winter Olympics is now open. Located in PyeongChang, it's comprised of 3 buildings that include a workspace, laundry room, and a venue for press briefings. The organizing committee created the center to cater to some 3,000 people from more than 200 broadcasters, media, and telecommunication companies from 58 countries, in addition to some 300 local journalists. Equipped with a range of telecommunication services and conveniences, the center will be open at all hours to help the world stay up to date on the results and all things related to the global games. It's time for us to turn to Michelle Bach at the Weather Center for the updates you need. Michelle, I hear the weather is expected to get even colder with snow tonight.
Yes, Daniel, I have to say the weather could have been better with fewer alerts, and currently strong wind advisories are issued along the east and west coast, while cold wave advisories are in effect in the upper parts of the peninsula. And Chungcheongnam-do and Jeollabuk-do provinces are also expecting huge amount of snow overnight, so please be advised. The capital areas will see the least snow tonight, while Jeollado provinces will see much more, of up to 20 centimeters of snow, and Chungcheongbuk-do and inner regions of Gyeongsang-do provinces will see between 2 and 7 centimeters until Thursday. And tomorrow, Seoul will wake up to -8 degrees Celsius, while Daegu and Busan begins at -3 and 0 degrees. And the daily highs are expected to stay freezing for Seoul at -4 degrees, while Gwangju and Busan hitting up to 0 and 4 degrees. And more cold awaits us, dropping down to -14 on Friday, but we can hope for a milder weekend. I'll leave you with the weather conditions around the world.
And that's all we could squeeze into tonight's edition of Arirang News Center. From all of us here at Arirang News, thank you for watching.